The physiology of fear, depressed mood, and general stress is not exhausted at the physiological level by one only muscle tension. The second violin is played here by the state of the respiratory function. Simply put, how we breathe. An animal, experiencing fear, as a rule, freezes and tries to hide. That is why it automatically holds its breath, which reminds the body not to breathe well. It can end badly. It turns out that fear is reflective, and causes us a breath delay, and a breath delay increases our fear. A vicious circle arises. Fear, breath delay, fear, breath delay, fear. In fact, this delay will quickly turn into intense breathing, during running or attacking, for example. That is, it has every chance to breathe. And a person is unlikely to succeed. In the process of upbringing, the child learns to suppress many of his reactions, which are associated with breathing. Screaming, crying, offended breaths, coughing, sneezing, vomiting, sneezing, and so on. For example, as a child, I really liked to scream, performing some physically difficult actions. But this natural reaction to me, breathing, was forbidden. But parents can understand that you are screaming like an old man. But it was not easier for my psyche. Not only not to breathe, but also to be shouted at for it. Yes, since childhood, we gradually establish total control over our breathing. We make it artificial. And our body does not like it. It feels discomfort on a very important issue for itself. As a result, it is always ready to be disturbed where necessary and not necessary. When we start to form a neurosis, our breathing gradually becomes more and more suppressed, unnatural and ineffective. In the end, this will lead to numerous failures in our psyche. Think about what will happen if you suddenly start breathing weaker than the situation requires. Your organs and tissues will not have enough oxygen, right? And how will your body compensate for this shortcoming? Those who understand the physiology of a person have probably already guessed, and I will explain the rest. If the oxygen in the blood becomes less than the body needs, it compensates for the shortcoming with the speed of blood circulation. Put simply, it makes the blood run faster through our vessels to pass large and small blood circulation circles more often. What symptoms will this cause? Increased blood pressure and heart rate. From a medical point of view, this is a normal, compensatory reaction. But if a person does not understand this, he will decide that he has problems with his heart and vessels. From this, he will be even more scared, his breathing will become very intermittent, and the vicious circle of panic will close again. From fear, he can pay attention to how he breathes. And he breathes in a situation of fear, not in the best way. As a result, he has a feeling of lack of air. But with the air, of course, everything is in order. The problem is with the respiratory muscles, which are overstrained and made his breathing so tight. As you understand, it is impossible to die from this. Not a single person has strangled himself in this way. These are just the jokes of hedgehogs. They forget how to breathe, die, and then remember and go on. In real life, there is only one consequence. Additional stress and a neurotic ring of symptoms. One of which shamelessly strengthens the other. In a state of depression, the same thing happens to breathing. First, in depression, we fall out after anxiety. Any of our neuroses starts with anxiety. So there will be problems with breathing in the first place. And secondly, crying. After all, what is crying at the physiological level? It's basically breathing claps. How do normal people cry if they cry with a burst? They take a deep breath, and then shout out loud, pushing out this air. There is an active ventilation of the lungs. What is the physiological meaning of this? Everything is actually quite simple. There is a pain center in our brain, which is equally involved in the case of physical pain, for example, at the time of a severe injury, and in the case of mental pain. That is, when you are just suffering, your brain reacts in the same way as if it cut off your arm or leg. It is quite natural that in such a situation it is normal to shout in good words. But we are decent people, we keep everything to ourselves. And who should we call for help with our scream? In childhood it was possible, but it did not always work. You scream from mental, so to speak, pain, and you somehow, well, on the head, and all, you keep quiet, you hold your breath, you form the skills of such normal breathing. This mental mechanism, significantly affecting our level of stress, has a long history. Childhood, adolescence, youth, and then all the rest of life. So that we have accumulated in our chest for this time, the tension will be different. If we do not get our breath in order and do not build it properly, then we will also hardly be able to cope with internal demons either. This is our third physiological anti-anxiety pillar. Normal, natural, high quality breathing. If we learn to relax well, to be here now and breathe properly, then we simply will not be able to experience fear, depression, irritability, or some kind of apathy.